As if we hadn't noticed, graduation season is upon us, and Mazel Tov to everybody who is graduating. Since being in the States, which is now quite a long time, I've learned, of course, where we grew up, where Reb Brock and I grew up, graduation is when you graduated university with a degree, but here it seems you graduate from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, you have your middle school graduation, then you have your high school graduation. I'm not entirely joking. But
Kindergarten graduation's on a Wednesday.
Okay. But joking aside, there is actually I find something very moving about graduation, because of course it's about marking these transitions from one reality to another reality, which is always good to put a little bit of ritual into, right? And one of the things that I think, even though sometimes the few high school graduations that I've been to are sometimes quite long and sometimes a little boring, there's something about the moment where every single graduating student is called out by name that I actually find quite moving, because in that moment it's not just a list or a group of numbers. It's individuals being called up to receive the diploma that they might have for the graduation. And I say that because apart from wanting to, and I know we've got Nina has her grandson Rafi is graduating high school on Wednesday, and her granddaughter Lila graduated with very, very good degree from CU, Lila. So Mazel Tov to you and to anybody else, parents and grandparents of graduates who are here. It is momentous, I think, to have those milestones. But I've been thinking, and especially hearing the amazing stories about Irene Rosenshine and some of Janosch's stories, when we think about the Holocaust and when we think about Auschwitz, the complete opposite. One of the horrific tools of the Nazis to dehumanize people was to take away their name and give them a number, right? Irene actually was pretty late with her yahrzeit coming up this week. Irene and her sisters arrived not until 1944 into Auschwitz, so they didn't actually get tattooed. But many of us, have known survivors, even our own parents and grandparents who had numbers on their arms, and that kind of dehumanization and of just losing your identity as a name, losing your identity as an individual, and just becoming a number. It's barbaric, and it's the absolute degradation of humanity to do that. And so I think about it in terms of this parsha, of course, because as I said at the beginning of the reading, there's a very, very big difference between the English name for this fourth book that we've just started and the Hebrew name. It's called the Book of Numbers because there are a lot of numbers in it, but there are also a lot of names. We can't call it Shemot because that's already taken as the name of the second book of the Torah, but actually there are a tremendous amount of names that are listed in this parsha. All of the names of all of the tribes are kind of listed. I mean, not all 600,000 of them, but there are a lot of names. So it's not just about numbers, and it's also not just about counting. It's about, as I've been saying, the Hebrew that is used for counting people is Se'u et Rosh, and it says Se'u et Rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Lift up the heads of every single person in the community of Israel. I'd like to think when a young person is graduating high school and their name is called out as they walk up onto the stage, that their head is lifted up in a moment of pride as they get their graduation. I would like to think that every individual, as their head is lifted up, it's a source of being seen and being recognized for who that person is and who that individual is. And it's actually a very important difference between counting and lifting up the heads. Se'u et Rosh. Lift up the heads, lift up the heads. Some of you have heard me talk about the fact, I was very moved when I heard Rabbi Fred Green from Har Hashem speaking about something that Klal, which is a national organization in New York, has been doing about welcoming communities. And one of the things that they talk about is that people should feel when they walk into a community noticed, named, known, and needed. Noticed, named, known, and needed. And I think that those 4 words are incredibly powerful. And I hope that some of you feel that every time you come here, but I know that not all of you do, because it's very hard. It's hard for me, it's hard for all of us to really know everybody's name and to know each other. But that's really part of what a community is. I'd like to think that in the Torah, when it talks about Se'u et Rosh, that's what's going on. Every individual is being noticed for who they are. Every individual is being given a name. Every individual is being known for the stories that they have to tell that are different from the stories of the person who's standing right next to them, just as the stories of 2 people who are graduating are so different. And that in being noticed, sometimes it is about lifting our heads. Because sometimes all of us, I think, have this experience in different environments and different types of communities where we don't feel noticed at all, where we feel ignored and unseen. And that's kind of painful. But when someone actually notices us and says, Francine, Shabbat Shalom, how are you? There's something about that noticing and someone actually saying your name that you feel, even if you don't have a strong relationship or know each other well, there's something that happens in that moment that is about a kind of recognition and an opportunity to see each other in a deep way. There's other ways that we can understand Se'u et Rosh. And some of the Hasidic commentators, most notably the 2 that I have here, the D'var Torah, who is a 20th century commentator, and the Kedushat Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berditchev, who was a student and disciple of the Baal Shem Tov in the 1800s. He talks about Se'u et Rosh Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael in a very different kind of way, in a very powerful way. Because he says that there were 600,000 members of B'nai Yisrael. Okay, it was the men. That's not counting the women and children, but leaving that aside, but important to name it as being the truth. But 600,000 people, and corresponds to the 600,000 letters in the Torah. Some of you know this teaching, this idea that there is a letter in the Torah for every member of B'nai Yisrael. And so what the Kedushat Levi says is that when the Torah says Se'u et Rosh B'nai Yisrael, and that instruction that is given to Moshe, what does the Kedushat Levi say brilliantly? He says in that moment Moshe was studying Torah. How was he studying Torah? He was studying Torah because he was studying every single letter of the Torah in the faces and names of every member of B'nai Yisrael. And so we know that you can't have a Sefer Torah is not, you can't read from a Sefer Torah if there's one letter that's damaged or broken. If there's one letter missing, it becomes pasul, it becomes an unkosher Torah. So in the same way, if every single individual in the community counts, if one of them is not seen, if one of them is not named, if one of them is not known, if one of them is not noticed, it's as if the whole community becomes pasul, becomes unkosher, because there's something about the collective nature of the community and seeing every individual offering what they uniquely offer that makes it like a Torah. And the Nitivot Shalom takes it a little bit further and talks about the achdut and the phrase that many of us know, ish echad belev echad, like one person with one heart. The idea that even though we're all individuals, there's something about a collective consciousness of a heart. Another piece of this that I want to share is, we've been studying in the weeks between Pesach and Shavuot. We study Pirkei Avot, and this Wednesday night is the last. I made a mistake last week, but this Wednesday night is the last class that we're having on Zoom with Bonei Shalom. I'm teaching the sixth and final chapter, which isn't really part of Pirkei Avot, but if you come to the class, you'll find out why. But in the fourth chapter, there's a very powerful teaching by Ben Azai. Ben Azai says, "Al tehi vaz lechol adam." V'al maflig lechol davar, she'ein lecha adam she'ein lo sha'ah, v'ein lecha davar she'ein lo makom. Don't dismiss any other human being, and don't throw away any single thing, because there's not a single person who does not have their hour, and there's not a thing that does not have its place. And this teaching, which is such a short but important teaching, is kind of saying that in the same way, Se'u et Rosh Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael, lifting up the head, and it's not an invitation for hoarders, by the way. I was just thinking, like, if every single thing because sometimes it's a very important spiritual process to actually get rid of things. We all know that, right? But in terms of humanity, like in community, like if every single person has value, every single person is seen and named and noticed and all of those other things, then we have absolutely no right to just dismiss someone. Someone may, vaz, it feels like shooing an annoying fly away, right? That's not actually what it means, but it's what it feels like. Vaz, like, get out. It's like we can't know what is really going on for any individual. And I think we all of us, it's part of being human. We get irritated by people, we get triggered by people, we get angry with people. But like, does that mean that we can completely dismiss them and dismiss their humanity? Because there's not a person who doesn't have their time to be in this world. And if we could all notice each other in that way and see each other and hold each other with that. Another part of Pirkei Avot says, "Dan l'chol adam kaf zchut," like judge every person with that sense of favor, like the scales, just judge people favorably. It's hard to do sometimes because human relationships are hard and challenging, but in terms of community, in terms of this parsha and counting the community, I really hope that as we move forward with our strategic plan that Jason is helping us develop, and as we move forward, God willing, to a new building, which Jeff is putting so much work into, that we're not just building a building and we're not just creating a random strategic plan, but our strategic plan at its essence should be to create a community where every single person is noticed and named and known and needed for exactly who they are and what they can offer. So this is not the book of Numbers, this is the book of Bamidbar in Hebrew, of being in the wilderness. And being in the wilderness is, according to the Midrash, really important because the wilderness, the rabbis of the Talmud say, is hefker. It's an ownerless place. And the Torah is given, God willing, on Shavuot, the Torah is given in a place that is not owned by anybody. And so there's an equalizing. Everyone, as well as everyone counting and everybody having a name and everyone being noticed, everybody has their piece of the Torah. Everybody's a letter in the Torah, for goodness sake. So everybody has their part of the Torah. So when we celebrate on Shavuot, as we're doing this Thursday night, the receiving of the Torah, it's as if each of us owns the Torah as much as any other person. Because I'm a rabbi, it doesn't mean I own more Torah than any of the rest of you. I may have studied some more Torah than, but I haven't actually studied that much recently. But I hope that I've studied some Torah, and some of you have studied a lot of Torah, and some of you may have studied very little Torah. It doesn't mean the Torah is more mine than it is yours, right? Every single one of us has a piece of the Torah. That's why, according to the Midrash, it was given Bamidbar in the wilderness. So, as we come into this final week of counting the Omer, this week of Malchut, this week of manifestation, and revealing the full essence of the 7 week of the counting, and we come to Shavuot on Thursday, may we all just know that we each have a legacy of a Torah, we each can receive a piece of the Torah, we each have a letter in the Torah, and that every single individual in this community and in all communities has their place and their time, and that we as a community, we strive to know each other, to name each other, to need each other, and to know each other, to notice each other. So, Shabbat Shalom. See you at Sinai.